Welcome back, YouTube. Doing another price update here. As we've been talking about, we're kind of letting the price play out here because we've seen some, I want to say like some rare occurrences here over like the last few weeks. So wanted to just kind of give like an update here as we hit major trend zones, as we recover or have these breakdowns, any major signals. So I wanted to kind of cover some things here as they are approaching. So right now we do have a divergence here between the 14, the 72, and the 200. So when we have a reversal in trend, it will certainly be obvious when that is approaching. As of right now, that's not happening. You see that there isn't any yield curves as far as even the short-term indicators, or like a median one like the 72, and certainly the 200 is always going to kind of be flat here unless we stay here for quite some time. But what we're looking at here overall is a search for liquidity, right? And we have not been able to find a footing here until we got to around that 9, 6, 7 cents mark, right? And it's very similar price action is going on in Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that as well, but you'll see we had a very strong rejection here from around the 8 cents. This is probably, I want to say, probably the strongest rejection we've gotten since April, right? We had a similar rejection here off of the 12-cent mark back in April with this length of a wick here on the candle. But overall, this is a very strong rejection. So typically that means that there's strong liquidity there. And typically that means that it'll consolidate higher. And that's what happened, right? We've been here for around 4 days, got a strong move up yesterday. And so now we're above the 10-cent mark. We'll see where we end up closing today. What we would need here to kind of have a reversal in trend is either we could see something kind of like a little smoother like this, the trend going to the upside, or this could start to be a trend. And since we got this rejection here, this is something I look for. I'm going to put a candle here. I mean, a candle, but a line here. This is something I'd look for, similar to what we had back here before we got rejected. This is what I would look for like a retest here around the 14-cent mark. I would look for something like this, a move here, and then obviously we can monitor this here with a couple of these signals here to see if we're getting like any curves, divergences, and stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be this particular candle here that keeps the trends going. We could have some couple more sideways days and then start this ascension, but ultimately, this is something where I would be looking for to position us for a retest in Dogecoin. Now, ultimately, the reason I titled the video that is what I mean by 15 cents and 70K for bull run talk is it's something I said weeks ago, right? I was saying that because I know that we were having some different things kind of happen here because the market started out different. We started out running early. We started out with altcoins running next to Bitcoin. So, and we also have institutions that have come into play in the market. And with that being said, when institutions come into the market, cycles typically change. Things typically aren't the same. And we're seeing that across the board. We're seeing some different behaviors here for this cycle. So we're kind of charting it as it happens versus comparing it to previous cycles. There's a couple of them where things kind of line up, but I don't think anyone can deny at this point that this is a different cycle here from previous ones here. So I think we have some different aspects here to kind of monitor and look after. So let's take a look here at Bitcoin because I know some people were panicking the other night when Bitcoin was selling off. But again, all these stocks are going to mirror each other. So we had the candle here. This is kind of like that rebound that we had for Doge. Obviously, Bitcoin is going to be a lot stronger. We had the sell-off here. Again, decent wick here on the on this rejection here. So that, again, we're charting similar price actions here. And Bitcoin recovered back up to the 200-day moving average, right? And for a leading asset like Bitcoin, this is kind of like where you can expect to see major price action because honestly, Bitcoin being below the 200-day is absolutely a steal here. And typically, it recovers really quickly whenever it dips below the 200. So you can see, so here, even with the retest here, even before the price action actually got there, you can see it going there before getting rejected here. And then we had the golden cross here, the 14 to 200. then we had the ascension. Now, what is really important here is because we got a death cross here at the 14 and the 72, right? Where we are now with Bitcoin is we're looking at potentially getting a death cross between the 14 and the 200, and we're like right on the cusp of it, right? A 14 and 200 death cross is a much stronger signal than this drop from, let's say, 64K to 53. This is a much stronger signal here. So hopefully this here, even if we do get the cross, hopefully it's like a quick cup here and just kind of balances out and goes back up. Otherwise, this could signal a major sell-off in Bitcoin. So it's something we kind of have to watch going forward. So this is something we're going to have to kind of use as like an indicator. This is one of the things we're saying. Let's just, if you're long in the assets, make sure that you're paying attention to like the modules here, because there's still quite a bit of time left to run and left in this cycle. But we have to kind of make sure that we are paying attention here to like the indicators and the volume and things that are going on. So the reason I was saying like 15 and 70K is because I was looking at the marks where can we be, instead of just charting and getting current price action on the assets, where can we expect there to be like these retests for the higher highs or continuation of the bull run. And I think that if we're talking about, I think for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is obviously going to be the market leader to pushing these coins up to these higher numbers, that conversation needs to be had somewhere up here when we're doing these retests, especially if we want to look at smaller time frames. When we're doing these retests here, this is where we need to be having these conversations at, somewhere between 70,000 and 73,000, right? That's where that conversation needs to be had at, because obviously that'll signal more liquidity coming into the market versus down here and getting especially being 20,000, 10,000, 15,000 away from the all-time high, and getting a signal saying, yeah, this is it, we're about to run 20 grand right now and set a new all-time high. I think that that conversation needs to be had at a much closer price range to where we previously were. Same thing with Doge. You're going to be getting there 15 cent to around 18 cents. 22 cents was like the peak, but we were there. It wasn't like the consistent retest that we're seeing with Bitcoin at around that 70 to 73 mark. So I really say maybe around like 18 cents to 15 to 18 cents, in that range where we're getting all of those retests at, then we can start opening up that conversation again. But right now, the question is, where is the liquidity coming from to go higher here? And there's a lot of things going on. We have the election turmoil. We have the stock market selling off. We have underperformance in earnings. There's a lot of other things going off that are bigger than crypto and playing parts in the macro aspect. So we have to kind of consider that as well, and not be just so zoomed in on what's happening here. But ultimately, over the next, I say couple of days, 48, 72 hours, we need to see what this price action is going to do, because with the way Bitcoin is selling off now, it looks like we're going to get this death cross on Bitcoin. So we could potentially be seeing a further sell-off here in the price action. So that's something we're going to have to worry about and see, because that can be a big signal. Or again, we could have a similar, let me see if I can find one, because Bitcoin has done it, something like this. It doesn't have to be a huge dip, because we saw a couple of the days were bad, and right, but it quickly recovered, right? So even if we have that death cross where we come down there for a period of time under like the 200, it's possible that we can see most of those bigger days happen relatively quickly, but it typically recovers those days in like one shot, right? A good example here is back in April 30th and was this May 1st, right? Two very bad days. And then on May 3rd, Bitcoin recovered almost both days in one go, right? Same thing we witnessed yesterday, right? We have August 3rd, August 4th, August 5th falling through the floor. And then August 8th, it recovers about 3 of those days in one shot. So Just because we have that dip or that signal doesn't necessarily mean that, it's just going to fall 10 or 15K. We can have some bad days in there, but Bitcoin typically recovers relatively quickly. And as long as the lower we go below 200, the 200-day moving average, the stronger the price action is going to get. There's things called like max pain. There's a lot of Bitcoin maxis out there that even if Bitcoin does not hit 100K this cycle, they're going to load up and consider this a blessing for the next cycle. So it's not, there's a huge, extreme loyal fan base behind this. So it's not like I have no projections now that Bitcoin is going to like go back to 20K or anything like that. So we're just going to have to monitor that. Obviously, continue monitoring things like ETFs coming into the market, futures coming into the market, all of these things that they can, like I said, more on the macro side, they're going to play a bigger part in the price action overall. So that being said, this is a price action update. Let me know if you found any value in the video. Leave your comments, how you're feeling about this cycle, the macro, stock market, anything in the comment section. So I know there's a lot going on right now that's kind of playing into it. Let me know your thoughts, comments, and concerns. I appreciate all of you. Please consider subscribing to the channel. As we get this breakdown, we're certainly going to have more time to beat Bitcoin to 100K. So please consider subscribing. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.